We're here with Dr. David Barczyk talking about Barczyk Biomechanics CrashCon22. Dr. Barczyk, tell us a little bit about your background in crash testing.
Yeah, I'm a chiropractor first, and then the story goes, I had my first deposition 20-something years ago, had no idea what I was doing, and I got creamed. I really did, and it was because it was what's called a low-speed crash, and I didn't know anything about low-speed crashes. I just treated my patient and they got better. So after the deposition, I realized I had much more to do and learn if I was going to continue to treat people the way I was treating them.
So what can an individual who attends this conference expect to learn at CrashCon22?
Well, we're trying to teach people about injury mechanisms and how people get hurt inside of a car crash. And it's not good enough, in my opinion, to just say a person was in a car crash and therefore they're injured, because clearly people get in car crashes and don't get injured, right? So we want to teach people the biomechanics, how people move depending on how the crash occurs.
Are there any unique aspects to the conference that individuals can expect to participate in or see?
Yeah, so we're going to lay it out on the Friday. There will be a full day of crash testing. We're going to do as many crashes as we can in one day. Those are going to include low-speed collisions. I'm going to buy some pickup trucks with tow packages, because tow packages behave differently than other parts of the car, and that's another thing that people can learn is what are the contact points and what makes a certain type of crash worse than another crash. So that Friday will be all crashes. Saturday we're going to have lecturing where I'll be lecturing. We're going to have Dr. Narayan Yoganandan, who is one of the most published authors on this subject, be our keynote. And then on Sunday, we're going to have some engineers crunch the numbers from the crashes that we did on Friday. So we'll have crashes Friday, lecture Saturday. On Sunday, we'll learn what we found in the crashes. What was the speed, the energy, the delta V, and those things.
Is this a conference that's specifically targeted to chiropractors, or are other individuals, encouraged to attend as well? Is there things that other individuals can learn from?
Yeah, so my goal is to blend the field. So I'm a chiropractor, but I'm also a certified accident reconstructionist. So I do both. I have businesses that do both, right? And the goal is to connect the two fields, because they are fairly disconnected in reality for unfortunate reasons. So my thought is we're going to have recon guys and chiropractors. We're going to spend some time together, and sometimes separate, because learning some different things, but we'll get together and learn some things together. I think really uniquely is we're going to have a fairly diverse panel for questions and answers, engineers, doctors, and other experts that people feel free to ask questions that they have.
It sounds like a very unique opportunity. Are there many conferences like this?
Not for doctors, not for clinicians. For engineers and accident recon people can go to different crash tests, but those are usually put on by other engineers and other reconstructionists. So it's this kind of, I'm trying to get away from this circular logic where you're in a room with everybody that agrees with you and you're just nodding your head all the time, right? How much do you learn that way versus let's cross-reference this with a diverse field of doctors and engineers and reconstruction people. We might not all agree on everything, but we're going to learn something from everybody. Every time I have been to a crash conference, I've learned something new, and I've been doing this for 15 years. So when you can't not learn something by watching cars crash together, and it's fun to break stuff, right? So I mean, it's.
You said the conference is from Friday to Sunday, correct?
Correct. All day Friday, Saturday, and half a day Sunday. We want people to be able to leave by about 1 o'clock so they can get home and get back to their families and practicing.
Okay, great. So Monday morning, when they're done with the conference, what can they expect to have received in that process?
Yeah, so for doctors, the Monday morning takeaway is causation. right? So a person was in a wreck does not mean that they will be injured. How do you define causation? And we're going to teach you injury mechanisms for rear end crashes, side impacts, frontal impacts, offset impacts, so you will learn how the occupant moves, the biomechanics, or the occupant kinematics. Those two terms are synonymous. But you're going to be able to put that into practice and say, this movement is what caused the injury, or not.
You mentioned a number of different crashes you're going to go through. Can we talk about those just a bit?
Yeah, sure. First on the low speed side, right? Okay. So low speed crashes in accident reconstruction are anything that has a delta V of under 10 miles per hour.
And when you say a delta V, what does that mean?
Change in speed. So in a rear end crash, if the front car is stopped, it's struck from behind, it's going to go from 0 to something when it's hit, just because of Newton's laws. That 0 to something is called a delta V, or change in speed, right? So when we define those as low speed, it's under 10 miles per hour, which to a layperson sounds like maybe it's not that big a deal, but some of those crashes can result in a fairly high energy transfer and a large occupant movement, right? So we try to do some low speed crashes, and those will actually have human volunteer occupants in the cars at a safe speed, safe level, so we can, because we're here to study the biomechanics. There's no way to study the biomechanics like seeing it.
So there will be some human occupants and then some non-human crashes as well?
Yeah, we'll have a crash test dummy as well, and then we will rise to the level of doing an airbag deployment or two, but I don't like to give the whole thing away, but there will be some higher speed crashes going on. And we're gonna get into talking about the construction of bumpers and what makes a certain bumper stiffer than another kind of bumper, and how does that translate into occupant movement. And tow packages have a lot to do with that, because they're made of steel, they're attached to the frame. So if you think about, from a layman's perspective, how hard can I hit a piece of steel with a sledgehammer and not crush it? Okay. Pretty hard, right? And if that gets struck or hit and it's part of a vehicle, it's going to accelerate that vehicle, and we're going to try to determine how much acceleration that is. And that acceleration is what actually moves the occupant.
And you're going to be charting those? I think you mentioned on Sunday, is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So the crashes are on Friday, and the volunteers will be instrumented. They'll have accelerometers on, so we'll know how many G's are imparted on them. We'll download the event data recorder from the truck that will capture what the change in speed was, what the crash pulse or time in the crash was. There's going to be a lot of data. This is going to be a data-centric conference.
So tell us a little bit about the conference, its locations and activities.
Yeah, so the hotel is the New Orleans Marriott, right on Canal, in the heart of the city. French Quarter's out the back door if you're into that kind of thing. Lots of restaurants, lots of fun. I hope if people haven't been in New Orleans, just having it in New Orleans is a reason for you to come to this deal. The crashes are at the New Orleans Motor Sports Park, which is a full-blown motor sports park. The cool part about this is while we are setting up the crashes, the attendees can rent racing carts and race around the track. It's a big track. It's one of the biggest tracks in the South. They claim, I think it's the fastest motor sports track in the South, so we're going to get to see if that's true or not. I think it's true.
Dr. Barczak, thank you so much for sharing all this information about CrashCon22. Do you have any other comments you want to make?
Yeah, just finally, I want people to show up. You're not going to want to miss this conference. It's in New Orleans in the springtime. We're crashing cars together with people in them, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of learning. I promise you, you're going to take away more learning in the 3 days than almost a whole semester of your medical or chiropractic school. You're not going to want to miss it.